Hello there. Hello. Welcome to Team Fortress TV. This is almost at the end of Season 24, powered by TT eSports Premiership tier. We're in Week 7, and it's nameless against Crowns on Granary and Badlands. And this one's actually an important fixture, even though it's right at the end of the season. Because, well, we'll go into why it's important later on when we run through the table and stuff like that. But for now, I'm Sideshow. With me is WARHURYEAH. We've got David on production. And War, are you expecting this one to be as close as these two teams when they faced at DreamHack?
It's going to be really difficult, but I would say no. At DreamHack, they had the bit of a shuffle with Stark and Captain. They've now reverted that change back to their normal setup. Obviously, when they last played Perilous, they looked very strong. They took both maps. So I think this is sort of like maybe a rejuvenation for nameless, where they can start pooping on nerds, I believe is the term.
Well, the nerds that they're going to be pooping on is Crowns, and they'll be hoping to avoid being the pooped upon and try and be the poopers, if we're going to use that kind of terminology, which I hope we don't. But the maps are going to be Granary and Badlands, and we'll take a look at the ETF2L table, I believe, to kick us off and just see where these two teams are currently settled. We'll load up the table there, and you see that Perilous is at the top. We should mention as well that there's only two sets of teams that haven't played yet. It's comfortably spanked against Bags of 5, which is yet to come. I believe that's coming very shortly, not sure of the exact date, but Nameless and Crowns is the real match here, because if Crowns can get more than 1 point, they have managed to secure their spot in playoffs. So even though I know a lot of the Premiership playoff teams are already kind of assuming that Happy Farmers, now called Happy Throwers, are already in the playoffs, but if Crowns can come out with somewhat of an upset here and not even win a map but win 2 points, they could literally tie both of the maps and end up losing them both. But if they manage to get that, they will be in the playoffs in that 4th place spot. So it is a crucial match for them.
Yeah, it's it's a bit strange, as I would have thought that Happy Throwers wouldn't have thrown their last game, but naturally because of their name they did, which is very, very sort of, I can imagine, disappointing for them, especially as it was against comfortably spanked, a team that, you know, they should have really spanked themselves. But I don't know, I think Crowns, the thing is with Crowns, they're a bit of a weird team where they've got like the players that have lots of potential, especially as they've got Beaven in now for Atomic.
Yes.
So they've got a lot of quality there, but they just never seem to be able to coordinate consistently with each other. Like, they always seem to make messy plays. I mean, it was against Happy Farmers earlier on in the season, I believe, where there was the infamous Brego backcap on Process, when he didn't even have a pain train or anything. He just backcapped them, and they just seemed completely out of it and had no coordination to deal with it. And I think that if they play like that, they're just going to lose. But I think I know it's going to be really, really weird. It's too close to call, because you're either going to get a good version of Crowns or the abysmally bad version.
Well, we are hoping here for the good version of Crowns, because the abysmally bad version, as you say, can be truly terrible, and that would make for somewhat of a flop for this game. So I'm hoping they can come out of the gates and deliver. But the thing that I'm looking forward to having a talk with you about actually is how both of these rosters differ from the ones that we would have seen at, for example, DreamHack or even previously in the season, because they've both had 2 different changes. So we'll take a look at the Crowns eSports Club roster to start us off, and you can notice that the 2 different people there compared to earlier in the season are that Buttnose is in on Roamer instead of Tiger at the end there, and Beaven is in, but rather than playing the Pocket Scout role as he was at DreamHack Summer, he is instead playing the Flank Scout role, which was previously occupied by Atomic. Now, the team was having difficulties with Atomic and decided to cut him, whereas the difference with Tiger and Buttnose was that Tiger decided to step down. How do you think this is going to affect them? What does this change about their team dynamic?
And Buttnose is like a really experienced player, even though he's probably like got a very, very small history of teams apart from Did I Stutter and a few others. Like, he's just like, you know, the best roster rider of all time, I feel. But He's probably he is a really really good player. He merged for them like earlier on in the season against Happy Farmers, and he was like pretty much the most outstanding player for them. He was like really aggressive. He managed to come up with huge plays. I remember actually across both of the maps, he was just absolutely insane. And he's like a really good all-round player. So I think Buttnose compared to Tiger is probably like a definite upgrade, especially as Tiger was just a fully fledged toxic Brit, whereas Buttnose has got a bit of the Tibetan swag inside him. So that sort of trades
balances
off.
out. He's got that zen calm.
Yeah, it balances out the toxicity inside him with the, as you said, the zen calm. So you know that's a good trade-off. Bevan over Atomic is, I don't know if it will really pay off now, but I think further down the line it will, because everybody is completely aware of who Bevan is. Everybody remembers him for that sick 6k against Broder that nobody ever seems to ever forget and keeps on bringing it up, even though it wasn't really that impressive because they're all 2 HP. But he's he's got consistency, and I think that's what this team needs. They struggle to consistently get a good string of results, and dominate games, or if they have a lead they don't really hold it too well. So I think this will sort of bring that little bit of consistency. They've got some more experience added to the team, and I think when you replace them with the 2 previous players, they really didn't have a whole lot of sturdy experience there.
Yeah, I think the team will be pleasantly surprised, or at least they'll be enjoying playing with Bevan a bit more than the unpredictable nature of how Atomic used to play. He was occasionally dying in situations that left his team unable to capitalize on whatever openings he had managed to create, and I believe they had a problem with some of his comms as well, communication and calling. Even though when they first brought him into the team, actually, they were really happy with him and really surprised at how much he called for being such a Eastern European player who had never really played in a proper European team with English comms before. They were really excited at the fact that they had a player with true direction and calling, but it ended up biting them in the butt later on in the season. So they're interesting to see how Crowns perform with this roster. But if we take a look over at nameLess as well, we can see that they have had 2 recent roster changes. And as you alluded to earlier, the switch up compared to their roster of DreamHack is that Captain is now back on Pocket, Stark back on his role as the flank scout, both of which they are probably... Are they the best in the world? I'm trying to think of like some of the North American teams as well. I think Stark is the best flank scout in the world at the moment. Captain definitely up there among the pockets as well. But the real difference in terms of the roster is that they brought Raymond in instead of Permzilla here on Medic. And they have Permzilla rather than Spud on Demoman. But Permzilla is just a stand-in for this one game because Spud is at work. He's not the usual demo for them. They haven't switched their medic over to demo, but they have permanently taken Permzilla out of the roster on main medic and replaced him with Raymond. How do you think that has affected how nameLess play? You talked about it as a rejuvenation for them.
I feel Permzilla is probably going to tactically throw just to sort of really stab them all in the back. Because obviously they took him, it was apparently a mutual kick, but we all know that they all hated him secretly behind his back. So he's probably going to like completely throw this game completely, I reckon, and just sort of laugh at them as they try and come to terms with the fact that their demoman's just suiciding in spawn. But Raymond, in terms from Permzilla, is like a direct upgrade, like mechanically in terms of like his ability to dodge. His Uber management is just really, really good. So that sort of gives you a lot of like confidence. And I feel like one of the issues that they had against Perilous was Koss has got obviously a huge upgrade now is getting Mike on Pocket, which obviously is going to make the whole team confident because you've got like some really good fragging ability now. And the same thing's going to be between Raymond and Captain. Like Captain's going to have a medic that's going to be able to hold his own and like not completely brick himself and pop whenever like a gust of wind goes his way. So I think it's going to give him like a lot more stability, a lot more confidence. So I think that's kind of what these guys need. I still think there's going to be maybe a little bit of a problem in terms of cooling. But having Stark as well back on the flank scout is probably like like a really, really good move. Like Stark, as you said, I would like say he's probably the best flank scout that you can get going at the moment. Like, he's unrivaled, because I think we saw it in the last game against Perilous, where he was just constantly behind them all the time, and it was just causing so much trouble for them that they just can't deal with it.
Yeah, as you see in previous nameless games, previous games when Stark played for Nerd Rage before that, and of course with players like Clockwork on Froyotech, the flank scout can have just the biggest impact in the entire game if they're of the kind of caliber that you get at the highest level of the game, and this is a team that's contending for the highest level of the game here with nameless. And now that they've switched Stark back over to the flank scout, it is the one where he excels. It was always a bit wasted on Pocket, even though he's a decent Pocket. When they were trying him over there, it was I felt right from the beginning that it wasn't going to work for them, because you're giving up you're literally giving up your superstar player. It's not just like a star player at the top. He's the standout best player on this team when he plays flank scout, even among such excellent other players around him.
Yeah, he is very, very good, and their whole play style, and most teams that he plays with, like, you kind of adapt a strong play style around his flanking ability. Is like, just, I don't know how he does it, how he just always seems to wiggle around behind, start back capping, and various other things. But I mean, when you have that on your team, like, it's always sort of like a trump card, where you can just suddenly, you have lots of options, or it causes like a lot of stress on the enemy team. Having played against him, when he does it, it is kind of like nerve-wracking, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You have to sort of, you really are forced into a choice, and you just don't know whether or not it's going to be a right one until, like, either his team just completely fly onto you and try and block the point, or you just get pounded from behind. So yeah, that sort of ability. I mean, and as well, having Captain on Scout, I mean, he's like one of the best pockets. Like, moving him onto Scout, unless he could pretty much do exactly what Stark does, or just completely crap on everybody and just frag everyone, it's not going to happen. So changing it is probably for the best regardless. So I'm glad that they've done it either way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well to see how, because we're playing Granary first, something that I picked out was how the soldiers are going to stack up against each other. How do you think AMS has been this season? I'm going to bring up Captain against AMS and see how those guys have matched up when they've been playing Pocket against each other. AMS, he sometimes does well. He has a history of being a top Pocket. He used to be at one point, maybe months ago at this point, but he has yet to really get back to that level. His stats, again, completely outshadowed by Captain's in almost every way. His DPM is comparable. The rest of his stats, really, he's he throws his life away a little bit more than somebody like Captain. Is he somebody that really has to step up and perform on Granary if they're going to want to win this one?
The problem with AMS is, from playing with him as well, is that he just overextends so much, and he just does the most stupid plays at just the worst situations. I mean, I remember talking to Sam about it as well once, and just how absolutely just mind-boggling stupidly it is that he just keeps on doing it. Like, I remember once I had to have a 15-minute conversation about what creating space is, and suiciding. It's just like, he couldn't grasp the concept of staying alive when you try and sort of just jump in, create some room kind of thing. He was just always constantly go in and die and then overextend. He used to be like a really good Pocket when he was able to have somebody to keep him on the leash, and unless they have that, it's just still going to be like a struggle. There are many times when I just think maybe he's probably better off playing Roma, but even so, I mean, we saw it in Perilous versus nameLess in their last game, and I actually sort of went over the demo and sort of pointed out how nameLess sort of did this pretty decent strat on mid, where both of the soldiers just jumped in one after the other, but they just jumped in, launched a rocket, and then jumped out. That's making space, and that's doing something for your team that's going to have a benefit to help them win. And AMS needs to be able to start doing stuff and start coming up with stuff similar if they want to beat top teams like nameLess and Perilous, or they're just going to be constantly fighting around the middle. And I think that's sort of maybe one of the reasons why they've lost 2 of their players. The frustration of not matching up to your potential is going to hit your team.
Well, this one's certainly going to be interesting to see how the teams stack up. I'm just going to show you where they stand in ETF2L one last time so that you can grasp the context of this game in case you joined us late as well. This is Crowns essentially fighting for their Premiership playoff life here. They need 1 point to tie Happy Throwers, and then I believe they'd beat them based on head-to-head or something like that. But really, they need 2 points here to secure their place in Season 24's Premiership playoffs, which are coming up incredibly soon as well. This is the last week. Tomorrow they begin, in fact, so it's super close. Crowns have got everything on the line here. As for nameLess, they've already secured their position, so in a sense, it doesn't really matter for them. It's not even about seeding. They literally can't affect it either way. So, you know, maybe a bit of a blasé attitude will give Crowns an opportunity. We'll see. But it certainly should be an interesting one as a preview for the playoffs. Does get in, and I also want to see how these two teams compare online, because Crowns at LAN seems to be a totally different nameLess at LAN. At the same time, nameLess didn't put at LAN as good. It was like the complete opposite. So maybe as they come back online, we'll see Crowns back to their usual level of going downwards, and nameLess back to their usual level of going upwards. And, you know, both of these teams favoring the opposite situation.
Well, we all know why nameLess didn't perform well at LAN. It's because they were expecting to have kaidus as a coach standing behind them, telling them what to do and how to play the game. And they didn't have that, so that's why it all went bad for them. Well, it turns out in the final it actually did okay, but yeah, I think from seeing them playing against Perilous, I mean, I did sort of mention in that game that maybe Perilous won't be trying as hard, and there's a high chance maybe that they'll do the same here. But we'll just have to wait and see. If they run a pyro to mid, that'll be like a telling sign that they might not be putting as much effort into it.
One of the symptoms of a team not, but you know, we'll have a tiny hint that they might not be. But at the same time, they did that in the DreamHack Summer Finals. They ran a pyro to mid. It was on Viaduct though. It wasn't on a 5CP map. It does make a bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's just we just got to identify which gimmick is a real gimmick or a gimmick. Like a gimmick to just be gimmicky. It's like just too many gimmicks. We just don't know what they're going to do anymore. This is the problem with EUTF2. Because we just throw so many gimmicks at people, everyone just thinks that we're being mean to each other.
We are about to begin though. This is week 7. nameLess against Crowns. Crowns fighting for their Premiership playoff life here on the first map, Granary Pro, and then we're going to be going to Badlands as well. They only need 2 points out of this, or really even 1 point I think would do it, but they'll want to just to secure it. Smear's going to be arriving at the first mid-fight here. Takes a bit of a sticky from Permzilla, who doesn't normally play demo for the team and maybe showing a little bit of rust. He's getting pistol down, super weak actually. Takes a load of fall damage as well, but is going to be able to collect that health kit. And now both the teams are just going to set up again, War.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a very, very passive mid. As you can see, Crowns are, however, in a bit of a difficult situation. Drak is going to be the one that jumps really, really high. Captain's going in as well. And they're so bunched up. This is like literally a meat grinder of sorts. Buttnose does take out Raymond to trade, but it's just 2 left for Crowns now. Kaya does get out, which is going to be the saving grace because he'll have Uber for the second defense if they want to go for it. But that whole mid-fight was really good from Perilous. They were completely spread out. I was watching the overview and they had like a really nice spread across over all of the crates. Crowns, on the other hand, were just bunched up. So when you had those 2 soldiers bombing in, that was it. It just went pear-shaped.
Drag did a high bomb and everybody on Crowns watched him like it was the 4th of July fireworks. It was ridiculous. They all just stayed in the same position as well. The only person who went forward was Buttnose, and Buttnose God managed to pick up Raymond, and that has given Onkaya the Ubercharge advantage. That's the whole reason that they're able to get this second point back and possibly even push to mid here, because they still have a 40% advantage. So we'll see how Crowns attempt to push this one. It looks like Piers and Smear, along with Amps, are going to be pushing in from this choke, and they should be able to get control of mid. However, Stark is in the back lines. Going to take the 1v1 against Buttnose, just bosses him. And this is why Stark is so good. He's just completely crippled this whole attack from Crowns with a single 1v1. And now takes another 1v1 with Piers on the point. Just loses that one. Piers super weak, but Onkaya now has lost his Uber advantage, and Stark just saves them the midpoint. And now they're back in a position to push second.
Yeah, this is going to be like really tilty for Crowns. Like, these are the situations that they are not comfortable in. So now that this is actually happening already, just like a few minutes into the game, it's not going to be like good for them at all. I mean, they've completely turned like a situation that was bad for them into a good one. Now they get in the Uber trade-off in second. Smear goes in, does get the force off to Raymond as well. Captain is able to take out P-Rez as well, who sort of overextends going through Z. So they're a player down for last. I'm not 100% sure, but it does look like nameLess is going to want to sort of start pushing on this, maybe get a couple of picks, and if it goes bad they can just back out. But it looks like they're just sort of teasing a bit, you know, just poking and prodding.
I wonder what the calling situation is like here for nameLess, actually. I wonder whether Raymond has picked up any of the calling. Stark's gonna bomb in, but instantly is taken down, my apologies, by Amps, who gets a rocket to his face. And now nameLess just gonna be set up on Granary second, where they're perfectly happy holding forever and ever, just building something up, seeing what they can get done in terms of a pick to open up this last point, and it's going to be Stark respawning on Sniper. That's what they're going to throw into the mix here, just going to be moving a Sniper around these angles, seeing who from Crowns peeks their head out, and seeing if they can get an opportunity. But Beaven's building up a sentry as well behind this shed, behind the wall, sorry, which should be able to slow down the offense a little bit, even if they do get a pick.
So if Crowns get 1 point, oh, P-Rez is dead. That's a nice body shot by Stark. Do they have to go into a tiebreaker, or is it?
I believe they lose in the head-to-head based on Happy Farmers.
Okay, so it will be Happy Farmers winning. Then Kaya is incredibly weak on the floor. He was forced down to 70 HP, and it does get the force. But there is a good trade from nameLess as well. They have multied quite a bit, but they do have a better position. Beaven is getting pounded in his butt by Permzilla, who overextends and dies for it anyway, so getting a little bit too hot-headed. He probably thought for a moment that it was a good demo man like WARHURYEAH, but he's not. And that is now the situation completely equalised. You see, in theory, there's no Buttnose. That's a dire situation. Now he's come back now.
Yeah, Buttnose is back in the game, but Captain's taking a ton of damage here in Z. Stark's still on the Sniper as well. Hasn't been able to hit anything just yet, but he's got his eyes on the shutter door, and both teams are just happy to stabilize at the moment, both on about 90%. It's actually Raymond with a slight Uber advantage, but I'm not sure he's aware of it. And with a Sniper, I doubt they'll be taking a trade in. Now, just going to wait for Onkai to get his Ubers. Equal Ubers for everybody, but Amps has been caught out in a perilous situation, and Stark hits the headshot. Down goes Amps there. Stark now going to take a slightly wider angle, see if he can get onto Kaya, who's holding just on the right. And Buttnose went in for a counter-sack as well, but that's a very strange situation.
Yeah, that's it. They're 2 down now, going into like another defense. Stark is pushing in on our left. He's gotten so much room. He's surely going to be able to get a body shot onto Kaya. He does. So that's an Uber dropped. Is it? I think it is.
Yes, it was.
Yep, and that is it. I think this is going to be pretty much nameLess's round unless they can somehow mess it up. But they do have spawns on Crowns, so Buttnose does jump quite high to get some aggression on. Smear has got lots of stickies on the point, but it's only now that nameLess have actually popped the Ruber, so this is theirs. It's all done. But I was one thing that I was going to sort of mention is that in theory Crowns could just play for 2 draws. You know, they can just defend on their last for the entirety of both games, and they, you know, then they do it. They hit playoffs. That's the strat that they should be playing.
Yeah, that's very true. All they have to do is not concede a round. They just have to have the best last defenses you've ever seen.
Yeah,
3 10-minute last defenses on both maps, and they've got it in the bag.
Exactly.
They don't have to defend 3 times.
They don't have to worry about the golden caps either. They can just throw them off that. They've got the critical point. But both demos are going for the... Actually, you know, sorry, it's Smear that dropped down as well. So it's actually nameLess that have a really, really bad position going to the start of this mid. Buttnose jumps forward by himself, and Ams is just on the left crate, standing and just looking at his team just completely crumble and die. I have no idea what that was from Ams, to be honest, because he was just literally watching Buttnose jump in, die, and there just wasn't enough follow-up. His whole team was committing to the right to go for some sort of aggressive strat onto them. They had the better position, but he just stood there and watched them.
Ams did actually bomb on the right side at the beginning and got denied by a scout and flew over to the left-hand side, but probably should have gone for a rebomb at the same time as Buttnose got in. Buttnose actually got a really good entry into it, but then missed all of his rockets, wasn't able to capitalize on any damage, and nobody followed that up either. There was no damage put out from Smear, so it looked like a great initial positioning, but after that, they weren't able to make anything from it.
Yeah, I think maybe Ams had like just over half HP, so I kind of think that he definitely could have followed up with that. Especially when someone else in your team is already in, and if you're just going there to make the initial space, just go back in, just sacrifice your life for it. It's Granary, it's very well known for just these incredibly strange, everybody dies on mid apart from one player, but they're actually sort of timing this Uber really well for nameLess. They might know that Kaya doesn't exactly have it yet, although what is he running? It's just normal Medigun, so he's 90%. He should be able to get it for this last defense. I mean, nameLess have just lost the demo as well. Drak takes down the sentry gun, critical there. That's a point onto his tally that is much needed, I'm sure. And now it's Crowns that have a full Uber advantage and should hopefully, barring no backpack caps from Stark.
Oh yeah, but here goes Stark.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, no, Stark just lures people back, and now he's gone through the window, but there's been players that have been drawn back anyway. The threat should be neutralized here by Biven and Buttnose. They do manage to pick up Stark, but it's taken quite a long time actually. The Uber has already come out, and everybody on Crowns is on super weak health, so this is going to be nameLess holding on. Once again, just all off the back of Stark going behind. And unless you're able to really shut down every entrance against nameLess, you're going to have so much trouble with that.
Yeah, it seems like they don't have like a thought out plan on these pushes. They're just sort of taking it as it is. They'll just go in, Uber, and then just sort of hope that something goes their way. Somebody gets a sick frag or something to really sort of make it easier for them. They're now pushing in through the right hand side. So you're just going to be leading with just the 3 players, Captain, Havercool and Perm. Perm sticking up the left side to deny anybody from rotating. But they haven't got any time on the point just yet. And there is actually time on the back cap as well. But we're going to have P-Rez, who's on top of the pipe. He takes out Drak with a couple of meaty meat shots, and he's on Stark as well. Is he able to get any more frags? That's a number 2 for him. And Permzilla goes for the glory play onto Kaya, but isn't able to connect any damage.
Yeah, he was only 50 health there. If he'd thrown a sticky out, there was a possibility he could have picked up on Kaya. I'm pretty sure he would have dropped there rather than try and pop all the way back on his own last, but he's managed to hold on to that one. Permzilla was not successful, and so they're going to be able to take yard and possibly even push into mid. Now, they don't have to worry about Stark going behind, but they do have to worry about him on Sniper, and he's in this forward spawn. He's charged up a fully body shot, but Captain's gone in, actually, and ruined any possibility of that, so now they've got Stark just stuck in there as well, so... Oh, he's going to pick up Smear, who had no idea that he was there, so they've traded 2 for 1, essentially, given that Stark has to back spawn, but... he got the forward spawn anyway, so perfectly happy to get straight back into that fight. He essentially got a free pick there onto the demo, and now they're going to be looking at how they're going to infiltrate mid. As for Crowns, they're just giving it up completely. They're not even going to contest, not throw a single player into it, or try and spam or anything, just giving up all of that ground in an attempt to build up this 50% Uber disadvantage that they have. But now they're going to have to hold passive on yard as well, so I don't know whether I'm really a fan of that. They're certainly going to have to spam them to try and force them aggressively here. They can't just give up yard as well, surely.
Well, interestingly, it looks like they are. They're just going to be pushing in for the right side. I mean, they're on 80%, so it might be worth it, but they're just going to have Permzilla Uber onto them, and is going to get caught out, and he is now dead as well, but they are kind of close to the Uber, so they could probably push back out, but they did lose P-Rez as well, so that's going to sort of thwart any of that happening.
I think that was a really weak pop from Raymond.
Yeah.
I don't know why he felt like he had to use there, or why he felt like his team had to use. There was only Amps that was forwards. They could have certainly taken second for free. Crowns played that really poorly, but then Raymond...
I think they Ubered through Z, so he actually Ubered Perm through Z, so I guess maybe the thought was that
yeah,
they might think that the Ubers are a lot closer, but there's an Uber in from Crowns now, so they're just going to try and take recontrol on second. Drak is actually behind them in Lunchbox as well, and P-Rez is dead. So again, I don't know what this is. Could it be called a push? I'm not 100% sure. There is a word for this, but I don't think I'm allowed to say it. I might get told off by David.
Alright, but now Raymond has this full Uber charge advantage. He's going to be able to come in through the left-hand side, along with Permzilla and Captain. They found Buttnose. No, just misses that upwards direct rocket onto him, though. And so he's going to be able to escape with his life. Everybody from Crowns has managed to escape so far, but Raymond, again, hasn't managed to use his Uber charge. Ams has been rocked by an airshot, but again, survives, takes an arrow from Onkaya, and he's still on the pipe. Buttnose eventually falls. Ams picked up as well, and here comes the final bits of this push, which should be able to clean everybody up. There's only Piez that's still dancing around, but he's gone as well, and that's going to be 2-0. So this is starting to look like a building deficit here that Crowns are going to have to come back into. It looked like they could have held on to that one as well. I feel like if they'd had a heavy in the mix that was playing on the left-hand side, and Ams had really tried to conserve his life a little better after getting the clutch arrow from Onkaya, they could have held on to that one, but in the end, the fact that Raymond popped so late didn't help them at all.
Yeah, I think a heavy would have been better, as you said. I mean, Beavam did go sniper at the very, very start, But yeah, a heavy would have probably been better, but it's another mid, so hopefully this time Crowns will learn from their previous mistakes and not bunch up on the right hand side, which they're already doing. Drak is the one that's jumping high again, so we've already seen this at the start. Captain is now going to be following him as well. He is able to get, oh my goodness, what a crispy shot to the atmosphere. He takes out Kaya and Beaven as well, so it's actually kind of a close mid, and it does look like that despite Captain getting a sick air shot,
he could clean up 2 of these players at least, though.
Oh,
he
wow.
gets 1 and gets onto the health kit. He could take down Piers and Ams. No, unfortunately, Piers is too strong for that. He's not going to be missing his shots. But there was potential there for Captain to clean up. If he had taken the fight with Ams rather than Piers, he could have got that down to a 1v1, played the other health kit. But he didn't quite know whose health was exactly in the red. And it's going to be Crowns that come out with the mid fight. So yeah, I was too busy looking at Captain hitting the sweet air shot there onto Onkaya to figure out how Crowns ended up with the victory. But they must have done something right.
I think it was just sort of like, again, Granary middles. It's sort of like a roll of the dice kind of thing. It just sort of went their way. I mean, Drak did go kind of too deep with his initial jump, and he ended up in sort of like their choke. So he wasn't able to sort of like do any more damage beyond that. But I think afterwards it was just maybe Crowns just, they did have a very passive position, so I think they were just better focusing down certain targets and stuff like that. But I kind of feel that Crowns really sort of need to mount some aggression, you know, try and get some bodies in, just try and take some plays. They've got, the thing is that, I mean, this is something I was going to bring up last round when Crowns, I think they did win the last win maybe, but it was Drak and Stark that were on Garage, and they were just sort of sitting there whilst their heavies just pushed in for the left side. And just a moment ago, everybody on Crowns was all gathered up in ramp room. Like, these are the sort of reasons why Stark's able to get behind, and it just sort of shows how sort of like the big difference between coordination like these two teams have. Like, you don't bunch all 6 of your players in ramp room. I mean, again,
look at
the
their
right
positioning
side's
now.
Completely open, and this is the second time. Ans is going to go in to try and go for a force. To be honest, he did put a really good effort into that. Raymond's only down to 32 HP. I think somebody took a rocket for him as well. So,
but now Captain's got it for free on the right-hand
moment.
side. Straight in onto Onkaya. 2 rockets. Oh, and he pops. Oh, he pops despite Captain not actually having a 3rd rocket to put into the Swedish medic there. And Buttnose has gone in for a counter-sack, seeing what he can get done. Not going to work out. And the rest of nameLess are going to just be able to flood in here with their Uber charge advantage, full Uber advantage, and that was all down to Crown's positioning once again. Just had nobody holding that choke side, and we see this again and again from Crowns on Granary, at least, is that they don't seem to have default positions. Maybe it's something that it seems like something they could really easily fix, right? All you have to do is say, in this situation, you just have to hold the right-hand side. That should be, Buttnose and one of the scouts should be holding this choke point at all times.
Yeah. I mean, I do find counting works as well. Like, if you look around and you count how many players are near you, that's normally a telltale sign as there might be too many around you. I mean, they do get a good force onto Raymond on the right side, so that's actually quite a good play from them. It's something that I wish they were doing quite a little bit more regularly, just sort of not giving these areas for free, just trying to force them. Now they've got the Uber advantage, they can just pop into this. I don't think Permzid is aware of what's going on as he gets taken out straight away. But the, I guess, key players from, no, maybe not, nameLess, do kind of get out. They do lose Hafikul, so now they're actually sort of starting to bring some more aggression. Both soldiers from nameLess are all bunched up, and they're both incredibly weak. It's just Stark sitting on the top now as well. Oh my goodness,
it's
gracious
unreal.
me. What the hell?
It's honestly crazy. He gets one opportunity and he takes the perfect opportunity every time. He just runs in and gets it. You only have to give him one chance, and he always takes it. Down goes Onkaya, and despite some nice rockets at the end there from whichever soldier was trying to save his medic, I believe that was Ams, who realized there was just the tiniest bit of a gap that had formed in between himself and Onkaya. Stark makes the most of it and ends up killing the Swedish medic.
It's like, Ams just gave out position. I know I'm like sort of really calling him out, but you just sit on the crate the whole time. That's it. It's going to give your team so much like vision, and sort of really does help them in the long run. So now we're going to have nameLess who look like you're just going to hopefully try and just get in through to mid without Ubering early if they can. They're doing some really, really good dodging on the old Spammeroo, and Buttnose gets taken out already as well. So they've got mid for free. There isn't really any real commitment from anybody on Crowns after losing Buttnose, but I kind of feel like they could have put a little bit more try into that, because at the moment they're really cutting it thin as they sort of now start wiggling their way back to last in the game where they're 2-0 down.
Bevan is holding on this right-hand side, but again, he doesn't really have anybody with him. The Crown's just all bunched up on the left. They've got the intel, I think, from Bevan that there were players moving in on that right-hand side, though, so now their positioning is pretty good because they know where they're coming from, and Captain is trying to make his way in through the top, but Raymond's still hanging back. They don't really want to commit to this just yet. They want some kind of entry, some kind of easy way to take the Uber in, or some kind of force, or just to get Stark behind, where he'll two-shot Bevan, take the fight against Piers as well, but Piers wins that one. Piers has actually got the better end of the fights against Stark most of the time, but Piers tends to be the second person that he's taken in the 1v1, so Stark's already weak, whereas Piers has a buff, so perhaps not a fair comparison, but even so, you really have to be winning those fights in order to take down Stark.
Yeah, and that was Kai just caught a pipe on the way out, and it's a really late force from nameLess as well, and Ange looks like he's going to be caught out high and dry in the middle of nowhere, and this is just an absolute rout. They've lost 4 players now, and yeah, I think this is the third round for nameLess as they slowly make their way, and the Italian stallion that is P-Rez is going to try and offer some resistant buckets. Oh, beautiful pipe from Perm. He's been watching my demos, I can tell.
Alright, the question now for Crowns is that they need to get 3 rounds in 10 minutes. Do they just kind of throw this map, completely ignore it, and really focus on Badlands? Or do they try as hard as they possibly can and put a lot of mental energy into trying to bring this one back to 3-3? They've got to have some kind of awareness of the bigger picture, that they actually don't need to win this one, but if they don't tie this one up, then they have to get it to Golden Cap and win the Golden Cap on Badlands, or just win the map outright. So we'll see what Smir and Piers decide, who are the first 2 people from Crowns to the fight. Ams is going to bomb in. There was a potential to take down Stark there, but in fact, as Piers and Bevan, the scouts, have gone down instantly, Smir then follows them, and Crowns players are also weak and so bunched up. Down go the combo, and it's going to be Buttnose to follow them into the spawn queue. Nobody dies from nameLess. An absolute wipe. And I feel like that wasn't even Crowns throwing. They really tried something different there, but it just didn't work for them. Anything new that they throw into the mix, nameLess have got the answer for. And it looks like all of Crowns' hopes are going to be resting on Badlands now, because this map is looking more and more unrecoverable for them.
This reminds me of the time when I get heavily bullied at school, and then I came home and my dad relentlessly started beating me as well. You know, this is just absolutely like destroyed. Any sort of hope that Crowns now had has just probably been completely sucked away from them. Buttnose does jump in, doesn't even get the force on Raymond, but he drops to P-Rez. After all of that beautiful dodging and surfing, he still drops anyway. P-Rez hits Perm Zilla as well with another headshot. So I think they're just going to try and go for Kaya now. He was sitting just on 10 HP. Happycool's going for the big pallies. He does take out P-Rez as well, but he's not able to clean up everybody else.
If they manage to get some kind of momentum off the back of this, you know, there's still 10 minutes left. We could see a fight yet, but it would be a momentous comeback if they were able to bring this back to 3-3 or even win the map from here. This would be truly something incredible. They were able to come up with an amazing comeback at DreamHack against Comfortably Spanked, but nameLess at the moment performing on a much higher level than Comfortably Spanked were at DreamHack. They're really just bossing them around, especially on the mids. So difficult to come back when you're getting wiped on the mid fights like Crowns did just then. But they've come back so far in this round. 4th round is starting to go the way of Crowns, perhaps, and in comes the bomb from Smir. They've popped off the Uber charge. Smir's going to take this one forwards as far as he can, but hasn't got any value out of it, not even any damage. And Bevan actually dies as well to Stark, who was, I don't even know where he was. Was he in the forward spawn?
Forward spawn again, yeah. He just poked out at like the right time. Just so happens that he poked out when Bevan then started running around the corner. I wonder how he knew. But yeah, just kills him with a body shot. No respect, just takes him out, and then that's it.
Well, now Raymond has a full Uber, and Ams and Buttnose are actually doing a pretty good job on the flank. They've managed to take down Drax. Stark's gone all the way back to second to see if he can block a back cap. It's actually Ams who is behind there, but he's not going for a back cap. Instead, he's going to try and sandwich the rest of the players on mid, maybe. He's taking a 1v1 against Stark, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to win it. Only on 23 HP, does actually get the rocket on Stark. That was a really nice one at the end there from Ams in order to trade. I was lucky to trade in that situation, I think, though, because he was just trapped in choke on such low HP.
Yeah, I think Crowns are now starting to look like they're mounting an attack, but Smear is caught way too far ahead. He gets dropped. I have no idea what that was. Seems like a massive case of miscommunication. I don't know if that was like a half-assed attempt to try and get nameless to force, but he just run out, and then that was it. Like, Kai's not going to go into that situation because he's so far in front. He's just getting spammed out, and no idea what that was. But this is the sort of communication issues that's just been plaguing them all game. Like, and it's just still carrying on and on.
Buttnose is in the drop down, but Drac is still watching it. I think he knows that he's there, so we may see a Roma 1v1 as Buttnose just bides his time. I think he's just going to wait until Raymond's position is called or something. I'm not sure quite what he's waiting for. It's going to be a bad idea if he does drop down. I'm really not sure what Buttnose's plan is here. But as for Raymond, they're just trying to poke Stark into a situation, but that's a nice pipe from Smear that shuts him down. Did a lot of damage to Plumzilla as well, and now Buttnose has dropped out of drop down. Gets cleaned up by Drac, who was just on the cleanup duty that entire time, making sure that nobody could come out of there. And the Ubers have been traded in the meantime over second. nameLess have got the better end of it, and it's going to be Haviko leading this one in. Captain combines with him to take down Bevan, who was taking the brunt of all of that damage. Now there's only 3 Crowns players on last here, getting peppered with damage as they come in, but Pumpzilla has been sold down the river as well. Dropped really low there, is going to fall to Amps. But the frags are being traded either way, and now that they've got the pick onto Onkaya, I think that is all that nameLess will want. Raymond and his 2 scouts will back out here, allow the point to go to Crowns instead, meet up with their spawners, and they'll be able to push with an Uber advantage, hopefully take the round, make it 4-0.
Yeah, it's also time that's being wasted. And then they're more than happy to just sort of just take the safer option. They don't need to just push the last, they can just wait for Uber, as Drac managed to get the trade on Kaya. One thing that you were pointing out as well is the Drac just watching drop down for ages. It's like a lot of patience to just sort of sit there and just wait for Buttnose, who then just did pop down. I kind of feel like if this was in the opposite situation, it would probably just be, you know, I kind of feel like it would just be dropping off, but it is. Raymond's just got Uber, and I think it is actually Chris from Kaya as well, so it's going to be interesting if they're able to get it in time. It's sort of like one of those Hail Mary things. Ams is taking a good position on top of the pipe, but does get taken out by Hafakul as well, and the position from Crowns looks a little bit suspect at the moment, as there are only 3 remaining, but they do have a crits heavy. No, because Kaya drops.
Yeah.
They had 97%, so not a drop, but still.
Yeah, he did actually get it, as far as I could tell. He was on 100% on my screen, but yeah, it said something.
The STV stats is 97%.
We'll see in the logs, War. The logs don't lie.
I just wanted to believe
I'll tell
in
you
the...
I'll tell you what also doesn't lie, the score, and it's 4-0. The stats don't lie, the score doesn't lie, and it's nameLess in the lead, with Crowns unable to really make an impact in this game. It doesn't really bode well for Badlands or their playoff dreams. Their playoff dreams, as they need 2 points from this fixture in order to upset Happy Throwers and get into the playoffs.
Personally, I would just, if I was somebody in Crowns, I would just say GG and just go next, because this is just going to be like just further demoralization, as again they're now going to be completely tidied up on mid. They do get 1 frag, as opposed to, I believe, the last mid when they got exactly none. Bevan's going to somehow do the infamous Broda 6-man. It's coming now, I can feel it in my bones. Here we go, 11 HP. No, he's gone away. He's run away. It's the wrong way. He's a bit confused.
He's going to take the Broda 1-man against some spawner, but
yeah,
everybody spawned. I'm not really sure where Bevan's going. He's off on a magical adventure around behind them. Maybe he's realised, along with the rest of his team.
That's what it is.
I don't know whether this is a Stark impression.
He's doing his best job at it. He's like,
this is an atomic impression.
I'm going to back up in a minute. And then everybody's going to be like, wow, you're so good. See, look, he's doing it. This is it. This is the turning point.
This could be the turning point.
By
There's 4 minutes left.
Bevan, it's the 2 Starks that are now going to take a 1v1 battle against each other.
Oh, Bevan got the better end of that one, actually. He's done a lot of damage to Stark here, and now he's got his pistol out. Bevan's got the health kit and gets the better end of him. There we go. Bevan
most exciting thing all game, that is.
Bevan wins the Stark v Stark battle and claims the title of True Stark. So for the rest of the game, we'll refer to him as Stark.
And then the other Stark can just be, I don't know.
Bevan.
Yeah. They've got to now swap names. This is how it's settled now. But yeah, as I was saying, I think they should just sort of like just GG or just end it, because
Yeah, I agree. They're just making it worse for themselves at this point. Even when it was 3-0, and there was 10 minutes and it was still like feasible, I think they should have ended it. I think they should have said, right, GG, we'll give up this map, we'll focus on the other one. It hasn't gone our way. nameLess have a history of being like rock solid at defending a lead, so it would be absolutely torturous for them to try and get back into the game, even if the momentum did start to swing their way, and they'd probably just end up mentally wearing themselves out even trying. So I think
I did see that, David.
Did Pierre's just air headshot Permzilla?
Completely.
What is with the demos from nameLess on Granary Last? Thalash hit a ridiculous shot onto Spud as well on Granary Last, right? And now Permzilla, who is filling in his shoes, jumps in and gets bodied as well.
I think maybe this is what this dead time is actually for. Like, these teams have a mutual agreement to give each other some, like, frag movie moments. It's just to distill fear into NA when they sort of come over for I-58, you know? They'll be like, oh god, look at all these sick things that all these EU players can do, you know? Trying to get
time. Yeah. Look at all these sick things that EU players can do when the pressure is off.
It's like the Cube, what is it, Sentry Air Shot, which was actually in warm-up. People don't need to know the backstory, it's just the frag.
All that matters is the frag clip. Well, that might be true for Crowns, but it's not true for nameLess, who are up 4-0 and trying to make it 5-0 at the moment. Stark is on Spy as well, but he's still all the way on mid, so I'm not quite sure what his idea is. Permzilla hits a pipe after death there to kill on Kaya, and it looks like we may be ending this one on 4-0 after these 2 minutes are up. But either way, a really dominant performance here from nameLess. When we move on to Badlands, I can't see whether much will be different unless Crowns are able to really revitalize their mid strats. Maybe it'll be easier for them, because if you get the bad end of a mid fight on Granary, it can be really devastating for the rest of the round in terms of momentum. But they have to pull something really special out of the bag on the mids if they want to have any chance of getting those 2 points. They have to literally draw the map and win the golden cap.
This is just upsetting. Star just backstabs Smear and just sort of stands there and nods to himself in his own amusement as he bathes himself in the blood and Smear. But yeah, I think Badlands might actually be a little bit better from the mid perspective, because it's kind of more one-dimensional. The mids are, and the map in general is sort of quite compact as opposed to Granary. So it should hopefully work in their favour, but this is Crowns, and after being completely dismantled, like I don't know, I can't see that happening. And the other problem is that even if they do lose mid and, you know, they do get pushed back, it may not be as punishing, but the problem is that they've now got to then push out a Badlands, which is, I would say, harder than doing it on Granary, just because of the amount of like various holes and hidden points on the map where a player can hide. And I think this is just going to be more of the same. I mean, as I was saying, unless they get Coach Carter in, like during the downtime, to sort of give them some sort of really beautiful speech about how the underdogs can do it, then I don't think it's going to happen.
I hope they do get Coach Carter in. I hope that we are able to like listen to the comms or something at the same time. That would be brilliant. Why don't you take us through the stats of this 5-0? Call out who was underperforming.
To be honest, I don't think there's anybody that has been underperforming so much. Like, I mean, that doesn't matter, David. Don't point out the KD. You got 5-0'd. You're going to have a terrible kill-death ratio. You know nothing, David. Production. Yeah, I mean, what?
They can't even hear who you're talking about.
I know, but I just want, you know, DavidTheWin, right, all season. Every time I've cast, right, he's just giving me like, yeah, mate, look at this. It's like, mate, you paid in like Div 4 or 5. Don't you know who I am? Do I have to count my ETF2L Prem medals? Do I have to do this? Anyway, yeah, I think everybody on Crowns, to be honest, altogether, apart from maybe P-Rez, but I think maybe his frags were more clean-up frags. I think everybody on Crowns just underperformed. Like, together they just seemed completely uncoordinated in every way. Everybody on nameLess just played incredibly well, but I kind of feel like it was kind of gifted to them. I mean, Hafikul's sitting at 18 kills, 15 assists, and 4 deaths, and I just didn't see any pressure. I mean, Raymond died 3 times as well. There just seemed to be zero coordination from Crowns at all. I can't really pinpoint one moment where they actually sort of looked like a team.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for me was that they didn't seem to have a set idea of where everybody should be holding and where everybody should be pushing. It was like the basics of executing pushes or holds weren't there. So within kind of a push or a team fight, there'd be some people doing the right thing, but then the flank would seem to just kind of be following the rest of the team around. I'm not sure whether that's because Buttnose takes more heals than some of the roamers, and so tends to hang around the heals a bit more, and Bevan's used to playing Pocket Scout after playing for them recently, so he hangs around the heals a bit more, and so they tend to just have like a 6-man blob. But even then, they're not playing... You can play kind of... Most teams don't play a 6-man blob, but in some team fights you can play like really blobby and it can work, but it wasn't going well for them whatsoever. They didn't have the coordination in any of those fights. Badlands, though, is super classic. You cannot get any more classic and puggy than Badlands, so it could all change there. But in terms of the stats as well, it's difficult to pull anything good out of Crown's stats when they get rolled 5-0.
Yeah, it was really, really poor. The only sort of... I think they sort of fall into this category of the only time when they look coordinated was when they were defending last. And the reason why they're so good at it is because they spend most of their time defending last. So they did actually sort of hold a few last pushes. They did sort of push out from last when that opportunity arose quite a few times as well. But that seemed to be the only time that they were actually coordinated because they were forced to be coordinated. They had nothing to sort of like get behind them or anything like that. They had one thing to worry about, which is the team coming at them from one direction. As soon as they left last, and then you start throwing in the fact that a player could be behind, that's when everything was getting a bit too shaky for them, I feel. And yeah, overall it was just, well, we've got a selection of graphs and numbers. I think this might mean that on this one, I don't know if that is right, but Crown's never capped second of nameless. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they were constantly on their side of the map, mostly because they had bad mid fights, but at the same time they got in, I think 2 or 3 times they got in position to try and attack second, as in they were holding mid and they were going for a push, but it always backfired.
Yeah, it's I think it's just the blob, as you were saying as well. It really sort of played into Stark's hand, because when there is no... I can just imagine the surprise, especially when Captain sort of managed to just get in to mid for free and just sort of force Kaya, like, what the hell is going on? Because it's going to be like all those points when, you know, you as a player, when you're going through choke, you'll be like, you know, just checking all the corners, like wondering where these players are because you can't see anyone. And then you just realise that they're all congregated together in garage having like a little tea party together.
Yeah, that was terrible. And normally you would put the onus on Buttnose there. You'd say that that was his fault. But one of the soldiers had actually gone for a sack just before that. And I believe Buttnose had transitioned over to play Pocket instead to like fill that hole and play on the left-hand side. In which case you need both of your scouts on the right-hand side to try and lock that down. Or at the very least one playing on the crate just to get some intel and be able to deny a bomber at least. But they had nobody there. They had both of the scouts on the left in the ramp room, along with Buttnose, who was filling in for the Pocket. So you have to have one person there, either Buttnose and have a Pocket Scout with your medic, or both of the scouts or one of the scouts. There's so many options for who could be filling that in. All they need to do is look at their positioning and say, just pick a player and say, you should be covering it in this situation, and then the responsibility is on that player. It feels like they haven't done that with this team, perhaps because they've made roster changes.
I mean, you say that, but they still have... I mean, the roster changes aren't like absolutely huge, is it really? I mean,
no.
Buttnose has been working for them quite a few times anyway, so he is practically, always been a part of the team, maybe spiritually.
And that should be the first thing that you sort out, is just default holding locations.
Yeah. Is like, it's basic stuff. This is like the core basic stuff that you learn in like mid
before you begin
low.
Playing.
It's just... At this moment, right, I've always sort of like, Amza's, I've played with him, they're great people and all that lot, but it's been like, what, 2 seasons now where they still make the absolute most basic mistakes. And at this point, it's just no excuse now. Like, we have to sort of really wonder what is actually going wrong for these sort of blunderous issues to keep on repeating itself. And I'm not 100% sure what it is, but somebody has to sort of like just slap them. That's it. They just need a good slap.
They need Coach Samsey to come in and give them a good old slapping and tell them where to play.
Having a coach just for the basics is just absolutely awful. You see, if coaches do get implemented into ETF2L and become like a prominent thing on TF2, you'll have kaidus standing behind them that's actually calling strats and, you know, updating them on things that they'll need to know and stuff like that. And then you'll have Sam that will be like going, "Hi guys, at the moment you've got 6 players all bunched up. I need exactly these 2 people to move over to the flank." It's like these sort of things you should just be clockwork. We saw this from
it'd be Samsey.
Hey! Woohoo! Banter. But yeah, it's you completely throw me off now. I've had enough.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying though. The basics shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't have anybody even calling them. It shouldn't even be a main caller that's calling kind of those basic positional things. It should all just be default. I agree with you. But we will be going live very shortly, so let's focus on Badlands here. Let's wash ourselves clean of the mess that was Nameless v Crowns on Granary, and we'll focus on Badlands. This is on Crowns to get 2 points out of this fixture and put themselves into the playoffs. All of the responsibility is on their heads. They have the opportunity, but now they have to deliver. It's Nameless v Crowns in their second map of the Week 7 Premiership fixture in Season 24, powered by TT eSports. And they're on Badlands, and Permzilla, the stand-in for them for Nameless, on the exchange of spam with Smira. Butnose jumps up. He gets counter-jumped though by Captain. Butnose flies around the place. He's going to be playing behind them. At the same time, Ams has jumped in as well. They've both taken a lot of damage though, and Stark's in behind. He's taken down Smira, and Onkaya's on his own with nobody to connect with. Surely not going to be able to get out. Actually does, because as Permzilla bombed in, he realized he had to go back and defend his medic. A bit strange, but they're still trying to harass down the rest of Crowns and see if they can get onto them. They're all stuck in trash there, and it's going to be Drac who picks up those last 2 frags. A full wipe from them to start things off.
Yeah, I think this is going to be actually possibly quicker than Granary, and one of the reasons being is that when they were playing against Perilous, Drac was really, really good at just sort of, you know, when they won the min fight and when he transitioned to last, it was really, really quick. I mean, we get an Uber from Nameless on the top left. Hafifals probably might just park onto the point, but whereas Smear's not above the point, as they know he's on the top right. But there are quite a few weak players on the side of Crown, so there is still time for Nameless to sort of turn this around. Captain does take P-Res, and for some reason P-Res loses that. He was literally turning his back to him. What is happening? But it's just Kaya on the point versus 4. He could have tried harder. I reckon he could have done that.
Rest in peace for them.
Yeah, but yeah, as I was going to say, Drac was really, really good from going to last, to mid to last, like really quick, and just catching out anybody that was falling back, and he did the same just a moment ago. So this might actually be a little bit worse for Crowns, because if he's able to do the exact same thing, it's just going to be absolutely relentless.
The player I'm looking to have an impact for Crowns in this game is Butnose. I want to see what he does on the mid fight. He's rolling out aggressive. He's coming up under slope actually at the moment, the roamer for Crowns. But Beevan's gone behind straight away, and he's taking out Permzilla actually. And Raymond now not connected with anybody. This isn't giving Crowns the entirety of the mid fight all to themselves. Nobody managed to get onto Raymond, and he has now connected with the rest of his team. But there is a Stark in the backfield, way in the backfield. He's back on diagonal at the moment, just coming up on the balcony. But I don't think anybody knows he's there. Butnose just spots him now and does hit a rocket on him that knocks him down into Valley. So Crowns have escaped being attacked by the Stark from behind this time.
You know, he's still trying to bamboozle the Butnose, but Butnose does get him. But so yeah, that was actually pretty well played by Butnose. He actually, one thing, as soon as Stark went under, he just jumped straight to their house, just to take health pack control, because if he's able to get that, then it would just completely swing back into Stark's favour. But they actually handled it pretty well this time. It's going back into one of these stalemate situations, but I think Crowns definitely need to start just go all out. I mean, they have to win, I think, or can they lose a golden cap?
No, they have to win the golden cap.
Yeah,
So
they have to win. So they either win normal time or win the golden cap, and I much prefer that they just try and win it in normal time.
Yeah, they definitely should. It's really desperate situations for Crowns. Otherwise, their entire season has been a bit of a flop. Stark picks up Buttnose again on the flank, but Captain and Raymond are coming in from Haunter on Kaya. So weak and gets him.
That was
he gets him with that
rocket.
Final rocket, which just, I think, clipped on the side of the bridge and splashed. That was great stuff from Captain.
That was beautiful. I'm slightly aroused. I'm not quite sure how to feel now. But yeah, that was absolutely insane.
Piers is behind and was going to go for a back cap there, but I think the rest of his team communicated that they wouldn't be able to stop it. No, he has gone for the back cap. But how does he expect that one to work? nameLess have already got 90% of the point capped, and now Piers is so far behind them. They know where he's positioned, and they're just going to continue rolling this one forwards. Actually, Stark has taken a 1v1 with him on mid, and Piers has got the better of that by a long stretch. Stark only down to 4 health, and Piers bosses him in a 1v1. Again, actually, Piers has been getting the better end of Stark in quite a lot of these situations.
But now they're doing it again. There's just more Starks that keep on going behind them. There's now 2 extras. So they've actually sort of played this really well. Oh my goodness.
Captain molested Bevan there. Just juggled him up into the air. He had already used his second jump of the double jump and just hung there in the air, just waiting for judgment to come upon him.
Surely our channel's going to be banned now for showing such a disgusting thing on stream.
Yeah, I think that's against Twitch's terms of service.
Oh my goodness, that was just filthy, that was. And
the whole situation was played fairly well though by Crowns. I like the idea of it, to send Buttnose and Bevan behind to capitalise on the fact that they got Stark down, the flank was open, and they began a back cap to draw the rest of nameLess back. So they successfully managed to defend their Spire just based off that play, and now Buttnose is still in behind, but he's just shown himself a crucial moment. Unfortunately, down to 2 health, is going to get chased down by Hafikul as well, surely going to die. Yeah, Buttnose falls. And with him and Piers both down, this should be an opportunity here for nameLess to try and engage, whether that's throwing somebody in or trading the Ubers. There should be some kind of push here from nameLess.
Yeah, this is, I think we're seeing some sort of like desperation from Crowns at the moment. Kaya just gets caught out and it's just easily forced by Stark by just giving him just some, what I can only imagine is just some buttering of bullets straight into his face. And look, now it's just forced all the way to last. Like, it's just, there was nobody watching choke, and having like just a scout just walk through and just get some light body shots onto your medic. It's just, again, it's just completely just bizarre. I don't know how this is happening at all.
On the other hand, though, after the first round, we really did think that Crowns were just going to fall very quickly. It looked like they were super shaky on Badlands, even worse than on Granary, but they've managed to kind of solidify things a little bit. They've cemented some foundations into the gameplay, and they've at least been able to anchor themselves on last, if not push out very well. So if they can hold on once again and make this a fail push from nameLess, they're in a fairly decent position. They're only 1-0 down, and that is going to help them. And Hafikul and Perm are still going to commit to this one. And Permzilla took a ton of damage at the beginning as well, so this could be perfect. Bevan hits a headshot onto Permzilla. They're going to want to chase with this as well. Ams takes the end of the Uber, destroys Raymond, surely going to get Hafikul as well. Yes, big Uber charge from Ams there, all off the back of a bit of a poor decision maybe to commit after Captain had already died to Smear's stickies. But now Stark is in behind, not going to be quick enough though to get onto the back cab, but should be able to cause a bit of havoc either way.
Yeah, this is really smart because he's just taken a really defensive hiding position, and he's just listening out for where any players on Crowns are. So now he's able to get onto Spire, and now this is going to be the collapse of Crowns maybe, where they're just like, oh god, what do we do? Like, Stark's behind. See, now he's just dragged Bevan behind as well. So Buttnose is now going to join Bevan, sort of being a lot more passive, but you can see how thin they're now spread now. You only got Smear pretty much holding quite forward and choke. If Stark's able to get on Spire again, then it's just going to cause more players to just turn around. And Captain's pretty much able to just walk through choke quite a bit. It's disrupting them completely. I mean, Captain's going to get taken down in house, which probably isn't the best thing, but
Yeah, I don't understand his positioning there. I think he was expecting the team from Crowns to be going back to deal with Stark and thought that he'd have some safe positioning in-house. Drac has managed to find the trade with Ams, has not actually died either. He's stayed alive and he's going to be able to block mid while Stark's on the back cap. Huge plays from Drac there, actually. That was really well done. And he has blocked enough time for Stark to win that one and go all the way to last because there's nobody spawning.
Probably it.
That is the round.
Ams is spawning in 3, but he's not going to get there in time at all. That was just so well played. I was watching him the whole time. As soon as Bevan, he was sitting on Spire originally, and as soon as he dropped off to go help his team, Stark just replaced him, and then that was it. And Bevan couldn't contest anything. He couldn't go from launchpad because he would just get wrecked. Buttonose tries to jump back and try and block him, but again, when you're jumping into a scout and you actually have to block it, you're going to be sort of more moving in a straight line and just meat shot him, and that's it. And it just keeps on happening this, and I'm triggered.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the mid-fight. Once again, Stark just diving really deep on this right-hand side. Drac has been caught a little bit there, even though he did a lot of damage to Onkaya. Captain picks with a frag onto the medic for Crowns, but there's only 3 players left alive here, all fairly tightly knit. But Perm, what are you doing, Permzilla? He really hasn't had a good series so far. He's been doing okay, I guess, but it's really just because he's been surrounded by better players, and he threw that one for his team. The rest of them should have been able to get out of that and maybe even recontest, find a pick, but Perm diving into house there when the rest of his team was committed on train and had an opportunity to back out to a shot. What?
Oh my god.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah, he tried to skip jump.
He's like skip jumping around. Oh, after I'm ripping into
Oh my
Perm,
god,
he goes and does something even more stupid. What is going on here? And then Drag just bombs in and takes Smith. Have we joined a pub server? What is happening?
Oh my god, this is just... Oh, it feels like Christmas all over again when I'm just left disappointment. Yeah, when I just feel disappointment and just shame as my parents just laugh at me and don't give me any presents. But this is just absolutely horrendous. Like, I just... They spent so long and they spent so much just trying to go mid, and it was really well played from Hafikul, to be honest, because he stayed alive. He knew Drac was coming with him as well, and just being... Oh my god, it's so bad. I can't... Well, I've got a nosebleed. This is how much it's hurt in my head.
After all of this madness that has happened on the mid-fight, Crowns still managed to hold on to it, and they have the slightest bit of a disadvantage, so they're just holding it in the back. But Buttonose is on Sniper, and he's got in a position to take a fully charged body shot onto Raymond without anybody trying to pressure him out. Smear does fall, but that's a trade that you're pretty perfectly happy taking if you're Crowns, because now Onkaya is 5 seconds away from his Uber, and they're going to be able to push in, should be able to find at least one pick, and maybe even get a free Spire off this if they manage to get a decent Uber.
Yeah, there's a Stark versus Buttonose joust as he was looking down choke. I mean, I've got this funny feeling that something's awful is going to happen for Crowns, because everything does seem to be going terribly. Oh, wow, would you look at that? That's it.
The Prophet! What is going on? How did you know?
I don't know, it's like someone's telling me something in my ear. I just sense it, you know? Well, it's Crowns, it's predictable. Oh my god, and he's just gotten P-Res as well. I don't know what's happening in this game anymore. This is like when Highlander players play against pros. It's just embarrassing.
In the last few minutes, this has gone a little bit pear-shaped. It's
oh my god,
just Stark ripping through people on Sniper. And as much as we sing his praises on the flank scout role, he really made his name actually on Sniper when he first kind of kicked into the scene in Div. I don't know, Div 2,
Wasn't
I
it
guess. Was when
like the old Insane Dutch Killers that he was in? I can't remember.
No,
it was either against them or...
He was in a team called Perilous for a while in Div 2 with Dummy, and then he moved into Deserto with...
Oh, I mean before that.
Oh, before
We're going way... He might not have been born then, but...
he made his name in the Perilous team, though, when they started coming up from Div 4 to Div 2, and he used to play Sniper a lot at that point, and he's really sick. Oh, but Ams... I don't know how Ams gets into that position on balcony, but he manages to force the Uber and take down the Sniper, so excellent play from him, and that has given Onkaya, while we're wittering about absolute nonsense, that's given Onkaya an opportunity to push out here with an Uber advantage, and really, at the end of the day, they're only 2-0 down with 18 minutes, so as long as Crowns can get a grip on themselves, they might still be able to get back into this one and at least tie it up.
I don't know, after what we've just seen, I really don't think that's going to happen.
Have you given up hope?
I gave up hope as soon as Buttonose killed himself when I do a skip jump, to be honest. Like, he's the person that sort of has been playing really well
No!
for him previously. Oh my goodness.
Sam's just killed himself by walking onto a roller, and now Stark is getting a headshot onto Smear. Oh, Bevan falls as well here. This is a car crash of a push-out. Onkaya didn't even get into a good enough position to use his Uber charge because all of the mongrel men around him kept dying, but unfortunately the mongrel men can't keep the sniper out either, and down goes Onkaya. Down goes the round there, 3-0. And even when they're in great positions, things are going wrong for Crowns. They've got some really deep-set problems here.
Yeah, well, Crowns will probably not be the best Jenga players because they keep on collapsing. So, yeah, this is just any sort of shred of hope that they might have just completely just goes tits up. I don't know how they do it, but this is just... We are witnessing history, I think, at the moment. Like, how a team could just completely... like, lose advantages in such a glorious fashion is beyond me. Buttonus is going behind from House, and he's able to... Oh my goodness, he misses all the rockets on Raymond. Oh my god, Raymond had his back turned. Oh my goodness, what is happening?
I apologize, War, but
And
I just watched that
Crowns
play.
is choking so much that it's made Sideshow choke. This is... I said we'll make history. The choking has transcended what we thought was, you know, just general physics. It got crossed physical space-time.
I literally just spat my water everywhere, and I'm covered in it.
That's not good
That
against
was
around
ridiculous.
electronics, to be honest.
Oh, Jesus. What is going on here for Crowns? Right, now they have to defend here. Pierre's on Sniper, Bevan on Pyro. Bevan's going to try his hardest to try and block this Uber charge. Gets melted, blocked about half of it, though. And they're going to be coming in on the left-hand side. Haffy drops. That could be the pick that they need to hold on to this one, actually, Crowns. But Drac is getting ready to push in along with Stark. The flank has been so good so far from nameLess.
Yeah, Kaya was like 10 HP in spawn. Like, what was it? Captain was able to get onto him, and oh my god, it's just completely thrown away again. Oh my goodness.
4-0.
I mean, Kaya did sort of like a good job. I think he hat swapped because he was 10 HP in spawn, and he just quickly swapped out before Captain get the last rocket on him. So they do a good job at actually keeping him alive, and then he just dies anyway.
This is last chance saloon here for Crowns, and there really isn't much hope. But they are 4-0 down with half of the map time left. There's still an opportunity for them to come back into it, but it would require a mammoth effort. Smith just juggled into the air. He's going to fall by fall damage. And Onkaya just manages to wiggle his way out, but around him, the rest of his team have all collapsed, and Stark is on the chase. Although he takes a rocket there and decides to back it himself up.
Yeah, this is...
Are Crowns going to be able to do anything, though, from their position in Trash or Balcony? I don't think so. They just have to get to last.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I'm going to say no.
That's a very bold prediction.
I know. We wouldn't have predicted that.
Stark's already in, though. Stark's already in. On to last. Didn't manage to pick up Smith, which was his intended target. If they managed to get the demo there from Crowns, that's all hope gone. The demo man's so important on Badlands. But now Crowns have realized that they absolutely have to push. They're in a situation where there's half of the map time left. They're 4-0 down. If they don't push with a pick onto Stark, then they're never going to get a good opportunity again. But they've taken... hold of one opportunity, but Captain's come and forced the Ubercharge out, and suddenly it all looks terrible. So, Drac taking a 1v1 against Bevan on last, manages to win that one, but Butnose manages to save him. Onkaya's gone down, though, and this could be it. We could be seeing a double 5-0 on both maps. Stark on Sniper, but doesn't spot anybody around this point because it's completely open for the rest of his team.
And I think, unless... Havical just sitting above the point. Oh my goodness gracious me. What the absolute fuck? That is just... Oh my god. He just sits on the rim of the point, and he just drops down, goes back up, gets a little bit of cap time on it, just drops down again, and then just caps it. And it's just like, oh my goodness gracious me. That's... Oh my god.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Well, Crowns, I thought that they had the potential to take 2 points from this fixture, given that they had made some recent changes, nameless, and they didn't have Spud tonight. but despite Permzilla doing his hardest to throw the game, it was too little, and they managed to win both maps 5-0 anyway. So I think you were spot on with your prediction of it being a rejuvenation for nameLess. We'll have to see how they perform in the playoffs as well, but just before that, we'll take a look at the logs and see how this 5-0 compared to the previous 5-0. I think that's the best way to frame it.
Yeah, it's not really any surprise. I guess maybe this game was significantly quicker, so there's not really going to be much to say about anyone individually, apart from I would say that it's just nameLess. Very, very, very impressive for me, to be honest. It's quite good to see, I think, for EU in general, leading up to I-58, that we have seen one of the top teams find like what they need to sort of really push themselves back up to the top. Quite sure that everybody would agree with me when I say it was a bit sort of nerve-wracking when what would have been like the top Prem team starts to play a little bit poorly, but they've made the changes and they have completely sort of turned around. I mean, I would have thought that maybe the previous nameLess squad might have struggled a little bit more. Having said that, crowns were awful, so maybe not so much. I mean, Kaya has 3 drops in that game. That's quite a few drops.
How many of those were to Sniper, though? I feel like at least 2 of those were to Sniper, possibly all 3 as well. So
I guess, but when those sort of drops with a Sniper happened in incredibly like stupid positions, where it's just a case of your team isn't taking any ground, like especially on the mid, where I think it was just Stark managed to go out balcony, and nobody sort of like just sits on balcony just take that position to stop anybody from jumping or anything like that. Those drops were a result of just stupid mistakes, I would feel. I mean, these shots were just gifted to him.
yeah, in terms of the team stats, not much to really take from that, apart from the fact that Crowns managed to pick up 2 of the mid fights and still weren't able to really do anything off the back of it. It was unlike Granary in the sense that they got some decent mids where they were able to get control of the mid fight, but they didn't win any mids with enough dominance that they were able to then push it forward all the way to last. They weren't able to get a free Spire off the back of it. And then they got stuck in a position where they're holding on to mid, and they really don't look comfortable holding in any position. It's the exact opposite of nameLess. They don't have people covering all of the entrances. They don't look like they have a full awareness of where the enemy team is positioned, and they don't look like they're able to react whenever a push comes from whatever entrance. They look incredibly shaky on the defense, and they look very uncoordinated on the offense.
Yeah, it's as I was saying at the start, I kind of, and a part of me did kind of want Crowns to really sort of put like a good showing. I mean, in theory, something that did seem quite possible was that they only needed 2 points. Actually, no, wait, they only needed 1, didn't they?
No,
although
they
did
two.
need 2 to win.
2, yeah.
And they could have done it incredibly easy, I would imagine. Like, they could have just simply just played a little bit more defensive in some areas, not make so many mistakes. I mean, at the end of the day, they just needed to draw both maps, and that was it. Like, but that never happened, and I'm just sort of, I mean, nameLess did play very, very well. There were so many good coordinated pushes and all that lot. They really sort of didn't really sort of tilt as much as they used to, but Crowns was just so poor. Like it's, I think they lost it just as more than anything, I think.
So we have some interviews. I say some interviews. We have one interviewee who doesn't even play for the team that won. So it's a bit of a strange situation. But we have nameless's coach slash manager slash backup and leader, kaidus. I was going to say captain there. You're not captain.
I should be captain. It would make for a much better interview, to be honest.
Absolutely. How do you feel your boys performed?
I don't know. I was barely watching.
Great. This is going to be brilliant. Well, I can lay it out for you. I would recommend you never use Permzilla to sub for Spud ever again, and you completely get somebody else, perhaps Dr. Phil or something like that.
He was doing just great, I thought, from the little bits that I saw.
Yeah, it was actually quite fine, to be honest. There wasn't
at least,
anything
like,
Never
alarming.
allow him.
At least like 3 grenades were connected.
The birthday drinks must have gone to his head or something, because or the birthday cake, he had a sugar rush or something. Do you have any insight of the game? Were you watching any of it with any kind of level of attention?
I watched like half of Granary, and then it became obvious they were just going to crush them, so I kind of tuned
Which
out.
half? The first half?
Like the first half, because they did the classic thing where like they kind of win, but really, really slowly. But then it was evident that like Crowns didn't have enough to ever do anything in the game, so I kind of slowly phased out. But I think it was a bit of a mismatch, to be honest, in my opinion. Looking on from the stands.
Yeah, Crowns. I don't know whether it's coming back online. I don't know whether it's back with Pierre's. I don't know whether it's just a lack of motivation to win the game. But something is very different about this team. They just utterly crumble as soon as they come online and play these ETF2L games. Compared to their performance at DreamHack, but also just compared to the average level of a Prem team, this was pretty poor from them overall.
Yeah, I feel like if they were playing even Bags was 5, they probably would have still lost. Because there were just so many, honestly, there were, especially on Granary, I mean, the 6-man clump up in ramp room all the time, it was that bad. It really was.
They look really caught between like 2 ways of playing the game. Like on the one hand, they're trying to do it like with some structure, but then they don't actually play with the structure, so they just end up kind of, you know what I mean? Like if they just made it complete chaos, they'd probably do better than if they tried to play properly.
They became so structured that they actually just turned into an incredibly tight bubble of people that unfortunately just got wiped all the time.
Exactly.
They've got one mind, but the one mind can only be positioned in one place.
Yeah,
and so
that's
they all
pretty
just
much it.
wander around.
Maybe they were sort of coming up with a strat, like, you know, if we can make an impenetrable bubble with Kaya in the middle.
But also, it was like when it wasn't even that they were all positioned in the same place. Sometimes when they were holding on Granary last, they were holding in the right places, but none of them were holding forwards enough to actually lock off an entrance. Or when, you know, they were rotating away because they were distracted by a single player, and then someone would just push through the entrance that they just left.
Yeah,
it was like they had no awareness that there were 6 players on the enemy team that could potentially go.
Yeah, they gifted like nameless to sort of just getting completely for free and not having to really uber early. I mean, I saw no player sort of try and wiggle their way through top to try and get some information as to where they're going to push from, or even see if there's an opportunity to even, you know, force onto them early. They just seem to be like, whenever they're on last, as I was saying, that's the most coordinated place because they only have one objective, but they never sort of had any sort of creativity going forward. Buttnose, I guess if I could pick somebody out, I would say maybe he was underperforming, just because previously when he's been murking for them, he's been pretty much the outstanding player that has actually tried to be creative and try to force the issue from his team. But yeah, I just think in total, nobody was like really showed up on that team at all.
Are they even practicing like at the moment?
They were last week. I can't really say for this week. I mean, I guess if you've lost like Tiger and another player, then maybe that might be the reason why they're sort of playing a little bit poor, but I would never have thought this poor, to be honest.
I think it was just nameless being excellent.
Yeah, it was definitely that.
They're back to the top.
They're back, that's it. They don't even need a coach anymore. It turns out that, you know, it's like Space Jam. They were just drinking the special stuff, which just turned out to be water. They were just dehydrated, poor things.
In terms of the playoffs then, nameLess are coming up against Lego, I believe, is our first fixture in the playoffs. Do you think Lego are going to perform better than Crowns in this fixture war?
Lego, what was it? I can't remember what game it was that I casted with Beta, but I actually...
Oh, was it a Lego game?
Yeah, I think that Lego could possibly win, like the whole thing. I think at the moment they were playing incredibly well. It was against Happy Farmers, where they really outplayed them, and arguably like a stronger team than what Crowns are. And I kind of, with the amount of like really good teamwork that they have, I kind of feel like that there could be a chance that they might win it. I mean, I wouldn't say like the chance is massive, and it's definitely likely to happen. That's still perilous, but I think they can cause an upset.
Am I right in thinking that Spud will be back for that game, Kaidus?
Yeah, like he's not even like gone anywhere. He's just they had to play this game, and like it made no difference to nameless if they took 6 points. Like to us, if they took 6 points or took 0, they just wanted to show up and play, so they didn't gift Crowns playoffs. Because obviously, if they defaulted it, Crowns would get playoffs, and happy throwers wouldn't.
Is that not a favourable situation for nameless? Do they want to put the? Oh, I suppose actually you want the best people in that fourth place spot to put the pressure on Perilous or put the pressure on Lego.
What they should have done,
not a factor whatsoever.
After the first map and after going up 4-0 on Badlands, they should have just thrown it. So then Crowns would have gotten a map, and then they would be in playoffs, and then you get an easy first game.
Like Happy Farmers have they peaked about 3 months ago, and it's been like downhill since then. So I don't think I don't think anyone like Perilous care if they're playing Crowns or Happy Farmers. Like whoever, like any of the 3 teams that play that 4th team will probably just destroy them. So I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I guess so.
As for the top 3, though, I think that one's going to be really interesting. It's strange how the overall table has appeared at the end of it. We've got a team in first place, Perilous, whose only losses are to the 3rd place team, which they lost both maps to, and Lego have squeezed themselves into the 2nd place spot as well with only 2 maps lost. Which again, both of those are actually so Perilous. So that's a really strange situation for the top 3 in Premiership this season, based on kind of what you would have thought coming in the previous 2 seasons of play that we've seen both of these 3 teams at kind of around the top. And Lego, in fact, managed to miss out completely on playoffs last season in a bit of a disaster season for them. Do you think Demul was the problem? Smork?
It's kind of hard to say, to be honest. I mean, I think it was just... I mean, last season was the season when DD5F and Abs, whatever the fucking name was, did really well, and they lost to them. So I think that might have been the reason why, as to... They had lots of draws last season as well, so I think it might have just been, to be honest, an off-season that may not, happen again, regardless from what they were, which was like the joke of Prem, because they were too good for high and too bad for Prem. They'd be happy with where they are, and I think they're now sort of playing at the level that they definitely can. Because overall that team, sort of the teamwork side of it, has sort of turned up to be really, really good. So I think, they'll pull a surprise, maybe. The nameless versus Lego game is just going to be so close. Like, it's going to be like a really, really good game, I feel.
I hope so as well. I hope Lego can really pull things together when they get into the playoffs. They have been looking really good recently, but we'll see how that one works out. Do you know who's casting that one, actually, War? It should be coming up tomorrow, right?
It's me!
Oh, it's Kado. War and Kaidus, did you say? Or Bren and Kaidus? Oh, it's Bren.
Yeah, can you imagine me and Kaidus? It's just 2 people with one flat monotone voice. It would just be... His is just a higher pitch than mine slightly, so you wouldn't really be able to tell each other apart.
Casting nameless as well. Probably the most boring thing of all time.
Exactly. Like, even we would fall asleep.
I think we should sub Bren out so that we can have that experience.
It's like literally, all that would happen is that whoever's observing, you'll just get like a look on the wall because they would have fallen asleep before the game even started.
We've had observers looking at the wall before, but that was diabetes or something that caused that one, wasn't it? I always loved that one.
Anyway, was it Comedian that did that? Yeah.
But anyway, going vastly off track there. We'll be back, as in Team Fortress TV will be back tomorrow for the playoff action. There's also a game happening tomorrow, I believe, in the regular season, which is comfortably spanked against Bags of 5. But nobody really cares about that one. It doesn't really affect anything. That one, I believe, will be on Team Fortress TV 2. If you are particular fans of either of those teams and want to check them out or watch the VODs, they're going to be over there. But I think that's at the same time as the playoff game is happening. But you should definitely tune in and watch that one, because that one will be sick, between nameless and Lego with Bren and Kaidus. So, can catch you tomorrow on Team Fortress TV.